Picture Cleveland in the 1930s. The air is thick with smoke from belching factory chimneys. The harsh screech of trains on steel rails echoes through the city, and nestled in the industrial heartland is a sprawling, desolate shanty town known as Kingsbury Run. This is America during the Great Depression, a time of widespread poverty, where desperation fuels crime, and the streets are ruled by uncertainty. 4 millions just surviving another day was a victory. But in 1935, something far more sinister than economic hardship began to stalk the shadows of Cleveland. A new kind of predator emerged, one who would turn the city's desperation into pure terror. This killer was unlike any other. They hunted the downtrodden, the forgotten souls living on the fringes of society. But it was the way the victims were found that sent a wave of cold fear through the city. Their bodies were discovered near the rail tracks, dismembered with an almost surgical precision. Investigators were stunned. The cuts were so clean, so expert, that they were convinced the killer had to have formal medical or anatomical training. He wasn't just a murderer, he was a butcher, and the press soon gave him a name that would haunt Cleveland for generations: the Mad Butcher of Kingsbury Run. With each gruesome discovery, the panic grew. The bodies were often beheaded, their identities erased. The killer was a ghost, leaving a trail of carnage but no clues. The city was on the verge of hysteria, and the local police were completely out of their depth. Cleveland needed a hero, and they knew just who to call. His name was Eliot Ness. Yes, that Eliot Ness. The legendary crime leader of the Untouchables. The man who stared down the Chicago outfit and helped bring the notorious Al Capone to justice. By the mid-1930s, Ness was a symbol of incorruptible law and order. Appointed as Cleveland's public safety director, he was known for his sharp mind, his unwavering bravery, and a relentless pursuit of justice that had made him a national icon. When the Mad Butcher's body count began to climb, the city looked to Ness to do what he did best: end the nightmare. Ness stepped into the investigation with his trademark confidence. He had faced the most organized and violent criminals in the country. How hard could it be to catch one lone killer? But he quickly discovered this was no ordinary gangster. This adversary was different. The butcher was a phantom. He left no fingerprints. He left no weapon. He left no witnesses. The only thing he left behind was his terrifying methodical handiwork carved into the bodies of his victims. Ness's usual tactics were useless. There were no informants to lean on, no criminal network to infiltrate. There was just a growing pile of dismembered bodies and a city consumed by fear. The killer seemed to revel in the chaos he created. This wasn't just about murder, it was psychological warfare. The bodies were often placed in shockingly public areas, posed in a way that seemed to deliberately mock the police. One torso was found in a basket on the steps of the police department building. Each new victim was a personal taunt to Eliot Ness, a bloody message that he was powerless to stop the slaughter. The city's newspapers, with their sensational headlines and graphic details, fanned the flames of panic. Headless body found. Butcher strikes again. Fear became a tangible presence on the streets of Cleveland. No one felt safe. Eliot Ness, the man who couldn't be broken, was beginning to crack under the pressure. The case became his obsession. He poured every resource he had into the manhunt. He personally interviewed suspects, studied the crime scenes, and worked around the clock. The more he investigated, the more elusive the killer became. The pressure from the public and city officials was immense. They had brought in the famous Eliot Ness to get results, but the murders only continued. Desperate times called for desperate measures. Convinced the killer was hiding among the transients and forgotten people of the Kingsbury run shanty, Ness made a controversial and drastic decision. He ordered his officers to raid the area and burn it to the ground. Entire blocks of makeshift homes were torched, displacing hundreds of people. Ness's hope was to flush the killer out from his supposed hiding place, to disrupt his hunting ground. It was a brutal move, a sign of his growing frustration. But it didn't work. The murders continued. The butcher was still out there, watching and waiting. The case took an even darker, more personal turn. One day, Eliot Ness received a letter, purportedly from the butcher himself. The writer taunted him, boasting about the murders and mocking the police's futile efforts. He claimed he was watching Ness's every move, laughing at his failures. Whether the letter was genuine or a cruel hoax, it struck a nerve. It was a direct challenge. A voice from the monster Ness was hunting. The public hero was now the personal target of a madman's game. The relentless pressure and the killer's psychological torment took their toll. Friends and colleagues said Ness became a different man. He was haunted, withdrawn, and consumed by the one case he couldn't solve. He lost sleep. His legendary confidence was shattered. The man who had taken down a criminal empire was being defeated by a single, invisible killer. His once untouchable reputation began to crack. The public started to question if the great Eliot Ness had finally met his match. Then, in 1938, after at least 12 confirmed victims, the killings just stopped. As mysteriously as he had appeared, the mad butcher of Kingsbury Run vanished. There were no more bodies, no more taunts, no more headlines. He simply disappeared into history, leaving behind a city forever scarred and a legacy of unanswered questions. No arrest was ever made. No one ever confessed. The killer's identity remains one of the greatest unsolved mysteries in American crime history. Eliot Ness would go on to have other successes in his career, but the shadow of the butcher case followed him for the rest of his life. Of all the gangsters, mobsters, and criminals he ever faced, only one truly defeated him. A phantom who carved fear into the heart of Cleveland and then faded away, leaving the world to wonder who he was. The mad butcher of Kingsbury Run remains at large in the pages of history, his case file stamped with a single chilling word: unsolved. Thanks for watching. If you find stories like this fascinating, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more deep dives into history's greatest mysteries. See you next time.